Take your coat off.
Yes, sir.
Just throw it there any place. Now, put this on. First, you're to learn to wash the tape after it's used. And printer's ink is pretty messy stuff, you see.
It's a little big, isn't it?
Well, I must admit I was expecting someone a wee bit larger. But, no matter. You can't have too much apron in this business.
After learning my other chores, it wasn't too long before Mr. Wilson allowed me to set a line of type by myself.
Here. How's this, Mr. Wilson?
All right, lad. I'll pull a proof for you. Looks like you need quite a bit more practice, lad.
My room was upstairs in one wing of the house. During the day, I was kept busy enough in the printing plant. But at night, there was nothing to do. Homesickness and longing for my mother and friends in Edenton overwhelmed me.
Across the desert sand, with all them mighty caravans, his bed was full of sandy lumps. That's how the camel got those humps. That's what Uncle Remus said. That's what Uncle Remus said. And his bed was full of lumps. That's how the camel got those humps. More, tell us more. The big he saw his hungry friend was swinging by his other end. He tried to sing things on the rail. That's the big got a curly tail. That's what Uncle Remus said. That's what Uncle Remus said. Find the same thing on the rail. That's how the big got a curly tail.
On my way back to the house, I passed Harbert's cabin.
Hello, Robert.
Hi, Moss Joe. Come on in.
Harbert was Mr. Turner's personal servant and enjoyed the reputation of being a gifted storyteller.
Where you been?
Oh, I've been over in the grove listening to the singing. And Harbert, there was an owl up in a tree over there. And he winked at me. So I winked back. And you know, Harbert, that old owl just sat there and winked right back at me. Harbert, why is it all the other birds seem to hate the owl?
Ain't you never yet heard the story about the owl and the other birds, Moss Joe?
No, Harbert. What story is that?
Well, Uncle Remus told this to me many years ago. And since that time, I done heard tell about it more times than I got fingers and toes. It went sort of like this. Way back yonder, all the birds was in cahoots. They all lived in one settlement. And whatsoever they might pick up doing today, they'd fetch it to the place whereabouts they lived at. It wasn't long before they'd gathered up a right smart pile of first one thing and then another, and began to get scared that someone had come along and helped themselves while they's away. So they pinted Brother Owl for to keep watch. Brother Owl, he sit up there right pert. But before he know what he doing, he can't keep his eyes open. By and by, he slapped his head under his wing, and when a bird gets his head under his wing, it's just the same as going to bed and pulling the kib up around your ears. Well, sir, the birds come back and found him fast asleep. And that ain't all. They discovered that someone had slipped in and stole all their victuals. That settled the hash for Mr. Owl. They brought him up to trial, and they laid down the law that he got to sleep with both eyes wide open, and he got to keep watch all night long. And whensoever he hear any fuss, he got to holler out, "Ooh, ooh, who that person we own?"
St. Patrick's Day no more we keep. His colors can't be seen. For they're hanging men and women for. All right, take it away, lad. The wearing of the green. Now, you pull in the handle and we'll have the proof for next week's countryman. Harder, lad. Harder, lad, harder.
I can't do it.
Oh, 'tis a thousand pities. You haven't the strength for the job. Why, you're no bigger than a pound of soap after a hard day's washing. We've over 1,000 circulation now, and more subscriptions coming in all the time. And each copy of the Countryman must be printed like this. And it's sure you can never be a printer until you can work the press. You're too little, Joel, and too young. I've got to get somebody else. I need the help, lad. You understand? Here, take this up to the house for Mr. Turner's inspection. Careful how you handle it now. It'll be dry by the time you get there.
Yes, sir.
Master Joel to see you, sir.
Hello, Joel. Come in.
Yes, sir.
Joel.
Yes, sir? Oh, Mr. Wilson sent you the proof for the next paper.
Thank you, Joel. Joel, you seem to be interested in my library.
Oh, yes, sir. I've never seen so many books before.
Well, I have nearly all the classics here, as well as our contemporary writers, as James Fenimore Cooper, Hugo, Scott, Dickens, Thackeray, and all the poets, including the American ones. You can borrow anything you want to.
Could I really?
Well, certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Here's Gibbon's Roman Empire. No, I'm afraid that's a little advanced for you, Joe.
I've read that, sir.
You have?
Yes, sir. Mr. Turner, please, I'd like to borrow some of Shakespeare's plays. I've never had a chance to read any of those before.
Shakespeare? Why, certainly, Joel. You take them any time you want. Just treat them as you would your friends.
Thank you, sir.
Joel, here are 2 books from which you may select fillers for the Countryman.
You mean I'm to select the fillers?
You try it. See how well you do.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And Joel, let me give you the 3 cardinal rules for good writing. First, select a worthy subject. Second, stick to your subject. Third, say what you have to say in as few words as possible.
Yes, sir. I'll remember that. Thank you, sir.
Being given the job of choosing material that would actually appear in the Countryman made me forget my first failure in the printing plant. Jubilant, I wandered into the woods, as I did many an afternoon during the days that followed, discovering the world of animals and birds and the wonder of their ways. I met Mr. Raven and watched with delight the family of Mr. and Mrs. Fox at play. I spied on Brer Fox himself, from a respectful distance, of course. Wherever you find Brer Fox, somewhere close by is sure to be his tantalizing, hoped-for victim, Brer Rabbit. As usual, Brer Rabbit outfoxed Brer Fox and got clean away. That night, filled with ambition for my new assignment, I stayed up copying fillers from the two wonderful books supplied to me by Mr. Turner. As a result, I overslept next morning and was late to work.
Well, would you look who's here? So bright and early in the day, we must get the paper out. If it isn't the countryman's devil himself.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wilson. I just didn't wake up. I guess I was up too late reading those books that Mr. Turner gave me and copying fillers.
Reading, is it? If you're not looking out the window or daydreaming, you got your nose in the book. And you can't work the press. There's little help you are to me, Joel Harris.
Is he going to take my place?
Thanks is strong, and he'll work the press for me. Now get busy folding and addressing those letters.
What about the fillers?
Never mind the fillers. We've got war news for our subscribers. Some Yankee spies raided into Georgia and stole their locomotive at Big Shanty.
Yankee spies in Georgia?
Led by a man named Andrews. Ah, there indeed it was, lad.
Did they catch them?
Aye. A brave young conductor chased him in another locomotive and prevented their blowing up the bridges.
Good for him.
Ah, it was a great locomotive chase. And as thrilling a victory as Bull Run. So hop to it now and get those papers out.
Yes, sir.
And I want no more of this dilly-dallying, you understand?
Yes, sir.
I had tried to write ever since I could remember, and produced such unpublished masterpieces as The Indian's Revenge and The Broken Heart. Now my dream was to see something in The Countryman with my name on it. I copied off one of my best essays, A Word to Boys. But when it came to signing my own name to it, my courage failed.
Come in. Yes, Joel. What have you there?
Oh, some contributions that came in the mail. There's one here that shows quite a bit of promise. From somebody named Marlowe.
Marlowe?
Yes, sir. Right there. Sir.
Well, thank you, Joel. I'll certainly give it every consideration.
Thank you, sir. I mean...
As I went about my tasks at the print shop, I was excited and nervous, waiting to see what Mr. Turner would do about my essay. In those days, the outside contributors to newspapers were generally answered by a brief item in the next issue of the paper.
Joe?
Yes, sir?